Okay guys, let's roll. A brief introduction to some video footage I took this morning when I was speaking in our 8 a.m. live. For those of you who don't know, this channel is live every morning at 8 a.m. for 1 hour. Our breakfast break, if you like. People call in, have a chat, pass on the latest news. Let me know if there's anything I've missed, which is usually lots. Anyhow, so this morning, who should call in but Joe Marsh from Wales. He's a well-known Welsh nationalist. Well, he's not really a Welsh nationalist. I'll let him explain that to you himself in this bit of clip. This clip really is more of an introduction to Joe, to those of you who don't know him. He's pretty well known in nationalist circles. I think he founded the equivalent of the English Defence League, the Welsh Defence League. He knows all the Tommy Robinson team. He knows all the key players in British nationalism. You know, Mark Collett, Paul Golding, the rest of them. Yeah. So there's some people we both know. He knows some of the nationalists I've worked with in the past. Yeah. Anyhow, it's not a long footage. We've agreed that he come on at some future date, more convenient to him, when we can have a real long session. I've got a lot of questions I'd like to ask him. But anyhow, let's go over or step back in time to this morning and see what happens when I get to talk to Joe. I have to warn you, my memory is not the best, guys. Well, you'll see in the video. Stand by, pause, Paul. Works, Joe?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, so far. Keep talking.
Good. Like, I work in the valleys, see, so my signal's usually not much cop, like.
You've got to do what I do there. Oh, right. Yeah, I understand, brother.
If I was at home, my signal would be all right. That's why I said if we could come on at 4 o'clock one day, I'd be all right, like, you know?
Okay, well, let's see. We're due to go live at 8 p.m. tonight. Is that no good for you?
No, the thing is like you were saying about going to Southampton.
Yeah.
I haven't been going to many demos lately because my mother's not very well, like, you know, but like, so I haven't been doing a lot for the last couple of months, like, you know, but and I haven't bothered going live because my YouTube is being absolutely strangled. I've lost over 1,000 followers on there. I had over 41,000 followers, and I was putting videos on and getting massive amounts of hits and that. And now, if I put a video on, I'm lucky to get 300 views, like, you know.
Right.
And yeah, go on.
Joe, could I have your link, please? Could I have your link? I don't know if you're aware of it, Joe, but there's been a lot of complaints. This channel has lost a lot of subscribers over the last week, 50 plus. But then I went and read about it, and it seems that YouTube are doing one of their regular purges of bots and dead accounts. So lots of people are reporting loss of subscribers.
Yeah, well, when the Straddy Park thing was happening internationally, I was putting videos on and I was getting 5 million views a week, you know? But like, I still don't get any money for it because they won't monetize me. But because of the stuff I put on, like, you know? But like, I wanted to explain, like, I call myself Welsh Nationalist. The reason I do that is because I'm fed up with Plaid Cymru claiming to be nationalists. Like, so I'm not a nationalist in the Plaid Cymru sense of it, right? I'm just Welsh and I'm a nationalist, and that's why I call myself Welsh Nationalist. And I've had to block about 60 Plaid Cymru idiots this week, right? Because they just keep coming on calling me Sais, which means English, right? And like, I'm not English, I'm from Barry, right? And my ancestry goes back a long way in Wales, right? And they just keep saying, you're not Welsh, you're English, you know? And like, their fanatical hatred for the English is beyond. And I think that they feel like allowing us to be flooded with Afghans and Somalis is in some way sticking it to the English, you know? And
Yeah,
like, I want to know how they think that the Welsh language and culture is going to survive when we're flooded with foreigners. Like, most of these people don't even want to speak English, never mind Welsh. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
I
And like,
I do,
they,
because I tangled with a professor, an American professor who lives in Wales, and she was fanatical Plaid Cymru. Yeah, I
yeah,
can't. Right, she was fanatical, and she would have a pop at me because she was learning Welsh and that, and she could, which I don't speak, and she would have a
yeah,
go at me for not learning Welsh. And I said, if I'm going to learn a language, I'm going to learn a language that will help me in my
yeah,
career, uh, which was computing. And as it was, I went on, and when I was in Portugal, my Portuguese got really good. Bom dia, como está? O que há de novo? All the stuff, because that
yeah,
language was useful to me.
yeah, yeah,
Welsh, but I did a contract for the Welsh office. We had the Welsh office then, Joe,
yeah,
and
I remember, yeah,
they they would give jobs to people who were permanent jobs. I was a contractor, so they needed my skills, and they would
yeah,
give jobs to anyone. Priority would be Welsh speakers or people learning Welsh, which meant that their staff or management staff was shit because they hadn't
yeah.
been
Yeah, I
appointed for their
remember that
skills.
they would only employ you if you spoke Welsh
Yeah,
fluently. Yeah, 'cause, like, I'm not fluent. I can speak a little bit, but like there's really, in your normal life, there's not much use for it, is there? You know, like, I don't want our language to die out, but these people, they're fanatical about the language and nothing else, just
yeah,
that, and hating the English.
yeah,
And it's just like, if you look around, like, I'm working in all these valley towns in Aranda, right? And
yeah,
I'm looking out the window, and like, there's just Africans walking around everywhere, and
yeah,
it's like Penrith and Mardy. There's just like, you drive through Mardy, and there's just African kids all going to school and that, And these idiots from Plaid Cymru, they think that the minute their feet touch the floor here, they just become Welsh. But
yeah,
like, that's not how it works. It's like, if you import all these Afghans and Somalis, like, they don't become Welsh. This area becomes Somalia. That's how
yeah,
it works, And I just don't understand it. And like, I've been having these debates with them and saying, you tell me how you're a nationalist then, right? How are you a nationalist if you don't put your people first, and you want foreigners to flood your country? You tell me how that makes you a nationalist, and they just go, "You're English, you are. You're an English Nazi," And there's no debating with them. That's why I've just started blocking them, because first of all, I knew it was going to wind them up calling myself Welsh Nationalist. I've been doing that for about 6 years now, calling myself that, and they hate it beyond, and
yeah.
they just can't get to grips with it. But I do get a lot of people saying to me, "You want to break up the union?" And no, I don't. Like, I'm not one of
Right.
them.
Well,
I'm
that
just,
was the
yeah,
first thing I thought, Joe. When you said you're a
yeah,
Welsh nationalist, I thought, oh, hold on, here.
yeah.
I'm against anything breaking up the
Oh,
union, because I consider
oh no,
myself
yeah,
a British nationalist. But now you've explained it, I might
yeah.
start saying it to wind them up myself.
Well, of
But
course, like, because, what is a nationalist? A nationalist is not one of those idiots. They are globalists, right? And like, I'm 60 now, right?
yeah,
I was in the BNP in the early 90s when Derek Beacon won that election in Tower Hamlets, right?
yeah,
I know Roger from years ago, I can remember your blog back in the day,
oh,
um, I've been around a long time, and like, we could have a chat about the EDL and that, because if you watched, I don't know whether you watched that Liam Tuff's, that fucking idiot, right?
yeah,
He he interviewed Kev Carroll last week, who's Tommy's cousin, and he said, why did they call it the English Defence League? Well, because there was already a Welsh Defence League, and it was me that started the Welsh Defence League.
Oh, of
And
course it was.
yeah, and that was why they called it the English Defence League. And I was mates with Tommy for about a year or so. And, you know, in the beginning, he wasn't controlled opposition. And I did a stream with Horace a while ago, and I explained that Tommy asked me to go to America with him to meet influential people who wanted to sponsor the EDL. And it was quite clear who they were, right? And he said all the, you know, like I started out when I was young as a football hooligan. I got in a load of trouble, right? And I said, we won't get into America. And he said, no, it's all going to be paid for, and it's all going to be sweet because people in the Senate are going to, you know, cover it for us for getting in, and we're going to get funding. And I said, who's going to fund you? And he said, I can't tell you unless you come. And I said, listen, if people fund you, they then own you, don't they? Right? No one's going to fund you for nothing, are they? They want something back. And he's no, they just want to fund us because they're, you know, they're anti-Islam and all this. And I said, no, I'm not going. It sounds dodgy to me. Like, and then when he came back, he suddenly started promoting Israel, and he suddenly started calling for multiculturalism and all the rest of it. And then everything was like aimed at Islam only. You know what I mean? And like I've said this to people loads of times, it's obvious now. Years ago, I used to say this to people and they didn't believe me, but now it's obvious, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, we could have a good chat. Like, I'm in work at the moment, like, you know, but so I can stay on for a little bit, like, but I can't really be on here for ages. But if you want me to come on one day, but the best time for me is, the best time for me is in the week about 4 o'clock. It's at the moment because my mother's not well. I'm having to go there all the time, and you know, it's taking up all my time, like, you know. But if you want to go to that Southampton thing, there's a lad from up your way. I think he's near Ebervale or somewhere near there, like, right. So he said to me yesterday that he may be going. So if he is going, I could maybe get you a lift, like, you know.
That would be wonderful to go down with fellow patriots. Listen, Joe, I really, really do want us to have a long talk, and we'll do a live stream at 4 p.m. We'll announce it well in advance because I think you've got lots of information that people would genuinely want to right from the beginning. If you like, from your first involvement in politics, your early days, right up until today's date. That would be wonderful.
When I joined the BNP,
Joe, if I can say, the problem with me is, I don't know whether it's my age, as you know, I'm 77. My memory, I can remember events, but I forget it. I forget in people's names, you know, and I forgot about you and the Welsh Defence League until you said it then.
Well, when I joined the BNP, I was in my 20s, and John Tyndall was in charge of it then, you know. So that's how far back my nationalism goes, like, you know. But like, I can tell you a lot of stories, but we obviously need more time, don't we? So if we can sort it out for one day and give people a bit of notice, that'll be all right, like, you know.
So you used to follow the Green Arrow blog. Did you follow it then when it went on to become the British Resistance?
I can remember it, but it's like a vague memory, you know. Like Roger told me when I was in the BNP years ago. Roger said, "Oh, he used to say, get on the Green Arrow blog, get on the Green Arrow blog," and I used to read it all the time. And I can sort of remember you did a big post saying you were giving it up. Did you do that? Yeah, it's all so far back in time, I can't remember tidy, like, you know.
Roger was, if you like, our front man for the Green Arrow, the Friends of the Green Arrow, and then what became the British Resistance. And Roger was the front man that we put in front of the camera. and he spoke Welsh fluently. That came in handy once when he was up in at a protest up in London, and we would the Green Arrows would fund Roger, and we bought all the camera equipment, and we would send poor old Roger and the cameraman, and sometimes I'd go with them as well to get in front of the camera. But Roger was a natural in front of the camera, and he done some great work. At the end, we had a bit of a falling out because I was a Griffinite and he was not. But these things happen, and we've moved on. He done a great job, and he done a great job down at Straddy Park, didn't he? I think.
Yeah. Well, if you look at that link I put in earlier, that was me and Matt Collett dissecting the BBC hit piece, because what they did was they got this guy to join us, right? And because I was the organizer for PA in Wales, but I'm not now, right? But I was organizing it, and we were doing bridge drop. Roger's not in PA, but like we were just doing bridge drops, and this guy joined, and we knew he was a bit iffy. But like the thing is, if you're going to have people join you, you're wide open to being infiltrated. But I said to people, even if we get infiltrated, we're not criminals, right? You know, as long as we're not breaking the law, there's nothing they can do about it. But have a look at that documentary there, and it's me and Mark Collett dissecting it, right? Because they caught me saying nothing illegal at all. Roger says to the guy that he's buying shotguns in case he kicks off with migrants, but he said he was winding the kid up, like, right? But they never got me to say that. Everything they got me saying was, I said, if it wasn't for blacks and Jamaicans in this country, we wouldn't have any knife crime, right? And they played that on there as if that was something really bad, I'd said. And then I said, the guy who did the stabbing in Southport, well, he's not Welsh, he's African, right? And they made a big deal out of that as well. But I didn't get arrested. This was not last January, the January before, and I've still not been arrested, right? They got all these foreign lawyers on there saying, oh, Mr. Marsh should be arrested for his comments. He's inciting racial hatred and all that. So, well, I'm not. I'm legally protesting, and, you know, I'm not calling for violence, and, you know, there's nothing they can do about it. So they did a year-long, you know, investigation into us and ended up with nothing, you know? But have a look at it. Let me know what you think of it, like, you know, because they did an expose on me as well back in 2010, where when I was running the Welsh Defence League and that, like, and that was the same thing.
Put that link in again. What I'm going to do with this live stream when it ends, I'm going to clip out from where you come on as an introduction to the show that we'll do later on a date that you decide. You selected the day and the time. 4 p.m. You select the day, and then I can announce a live stream. So this will be a prequel to it. But I can't find that link that you said you posted.
I just posted it. It was an Odyssey link. I put it in your chat earlier. But, well, I won't be able to do it while I'm talking to you. Well, when I get off, I'll stick it in, right? And have a look at it, because they've done a few, like, and if people look at my YouTube, I've made loads of videos, right? There's all the Straddy Pack stuff is all on there.
What's the channel name again? What's your channel name?
It's Welsh Nationalist on. If you put in Welsh Nationalist Joe Marsh, you'll find it. But like I said, I've lost in the last couple of months. I've lost over 1,000 followers, and I've stopped making little videos really because it's pointless chucking videos out and getting 300 views, like, you know.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I know. There we go. Welsh Nationalist Joe. Just right. Is it Joe Marsh? Yeah, Joe Marsh.
That's it.
I got you. Oh, I'm already subscribed. Sorry, mate.
Well, no, I used to put a lot of content on there, but I just haven't bothered lately because it's you know, demoralizing when you're putting all that effort into making videos and then they're just like nobody's seeing them. And even my missus is subscribed and she doesn't get a notification, you know. So clearly, like, even if like a quarter of the people on your subs got, you know, watched your videos, you should be getting 10,000 views on every video.
Well,
and you know, like, you know.
you've got 40,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I know. But that's, and if you look at my stats, like it's well over 25 million views and that, like, you know what I mean? But all of a sudden, it just died a death, like,
Okay.
So somebody somewhere has just put the block on me, I think,
Oh, definitely. I sometimes think that I notice if I talk about Israel and places like that, the videos
Yeah,
are throttled straight away. Going back to Plaid Cymru, I mean, one of the
yeah,
first articles I did for the Green Arrow blog was exposing Leanne Wood of Plaid as being,
yeah,
she made donations to the Communist Party of Wales. And there was
yeah,
a huge fuss about it at the time. And
yeah,
they come back and they've replied to me and said, well, she can donate whatever she likes to anybody she likes as a private individual. I thought, great.
yeah,
Plaid has always been globalist, Marxist, haven't they?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
okay, then listen, you you pick the date, yeah,
yeah,
and it'll be 4 o'clock if that's the time that suits you, and we'll
yeah,
do it, and I can really
yeah.
promote it. This
Maybe
morning,
we can do it next week sometime then. I'll let you know what day's best, like.
okay,
Um, it's up to you when you want to do it, like. But if you
yeah,
pre-advertise it, then you might
oh,
you should get more people on because we were doing streaming. We were streaming like once a month, and we were having 300 people watching live, like. So,
hmm,
but the guys that were streaming with me lost their bottle. Um, after this, BBC investigation. But I got a few new guys at the moment. We're thinking of setting it back up, like, but it's a time matter at the moment, like, because I'm working full time and my mother's not well and I got to go to Bad. Don't live in Barry anymore, so I got to go there. It takes me an hour then to get home and that. So, I haven't got a lot of time at the moment, like, but I'll definitely find a few hours to speak to you, like.
oh, that would be brilliant. So the thing is, already I have a pile of questions I'd like to ask you. I mean,
Yeah,
I
go on.
I met I only met Mark Collett twice. I spoke to him. I think I got on well with him. I'm sorry
Yeah,
to hear about his mother dying because I thought she was quite nice when I met her.
yeah,
And but I really don't have a hard opinion on Mark because I didn't know him well enough. Now, Paul Golding, I worked with Paul Golding and helped him set up Britain First back in the day with
yeah,
Jim Dawson, you know, and
yeah.
yet Paul seems to have become a bit of a Zionist, doesn't he? I don't know.
Well, he's going with the grift, isn't he? Like, this is what a lot of them do. Like, that deep down he's an ethnat, right? I know we have
Mm,
we have to say ethnat to distinguish ourselves from these freaks, like. But
yeah,
he's going with the civnat bullshit at the moment because that's where the grift is. That's where the money is, you know.
yeah,
And if you're in it for the money, you got to appeal to the civnat bullshit. I put a post on earlier about this kid that got stabbed by this Sikh, right? Like,
yeah,
he's, I said, not only has he stabbed that kid to death, he's stabbed a hole in Tommy's grift, right? Because Tommy didn't mention the kid that died because a Sikh did it, right? And
yeah,
Elon Musk has now mentioned it and said he'll fund the prosecution against the police. So Tommy now has been forced to speak about it and say it's disgusting what's happened. And everybody in Tommy's comments is saying, you love the Sikhs though. You want the Sikhs. You've told people a million times. The Sikhs
yeah,
are amazing. Like we had some twat on Twitter the other day saying, "Oh, there's only been one incident with Sikhs." Like, no, there's not. There's loads, right? And
yeah,
to find them, you've got to put Singh, right? You've got to put Singh stabbing, Singh rape, because
yeah,
it doesn't say they're a Sikh, right? But if you put
yeah,
Singh, it finds all these. There's gang bullshit. There's drug dealing. There's rapes. There's stabbings. All the same shit the Muslims do, right? The Sikhs are doing it as well. But
yeah.
and
Agreed. Yeah,
yeah,
I know about I know about this, and I know about their ceremonial daggers, the Kirpans, because I think I wrote about that in 2009.
yeah, yeah,
That it was wrong that they can carry these 8-inch daggers, shall we say that we're all Sikhs, and then we can defend ourselves? That's what our women
Yeah,
should say. I'm a Sikh. Okay, there was so many other questions. We leave it
yeah,
go for now. I'm
yeah.
going to get a
All right
video
then.
out. God, so many questions flooding into my mind, Joe. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you
Well,
came up and spoke.
yeah. Well, I wanted to speak last week, but I was in Treorchy. I was at the Bulk Mountain, right?
Yeah,
And my signal was terrible, so I just couldn't. It's frustrating when you think you're speaking and nobody can hear you, But
yeah.
if we do a stream, I can do a couple of hours if we do it at 4 o'clock one day, and then think about some questions and that beforehand, and then we can go through a load of stuff,
We'll start right at the beginning. It'll be you doing the talking, and I'll be asking
Yeah,
very few questions because people want to
yeah,
hear what you've got to say.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Joe, thanks a lot.
I got millions of stories, but cheers for having me on anyway, and I'll speak to you
Oh,
soon. All right?
no, no, don't thank me, buddy. I got to thank you. I got to thank
Yeah.
you, Joe. I'm just
All right.
glad to see you still in the fight. I got knocked back
Yeah.
for a while after the BNP fell. They went the
Yeah.
same way with the Sikhs, though, didn't they? I remember I
Yeah.
saying, "Oh well, we'll have to accept Sikhs, otherwise they were going to close the party down." But I never
Yeah.
ever liked it. A bit like
No.
I
Well.
should imagine, like that's like how Paul Golden feels. Yeah,
Yeah. I know.
yeah.
Well, none of them are indigenous to this land, are they? Right. So
No,
the lot of them have got to go, and that's as simple as that.
yeah. Hey, well, Joe, absolutely brilliant. I look forward to meeting you. Perhaps we can have a pint together as well somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, look up.
definitely. Yeah. All right then.
Thanks a
Yeah.
lot, Joe. And
See
don't
you
thank me,
soon.
buddy. I'm thanking you. Bye now,
All right
Joe.
then. See you
Bye,
later.
brother. I, what I'll do is now I'll take that clip of speaking to Joe, put something in the front of it, and then push it. It's so good to see someone from the past. I don't remember meeting Joe, and yet we would have been around at the same time. Then again, I was over at Bridgend. If he was over with Swansea, I don't know. We'll see. Well, that was great, wasn't it? That was a bit of luck that Joe came in today, and that means we'll have a good show later on. I'm going to put some music on and bugger it. We'll keep rolling for a bit longer, and then it'll give me a chance to have a look at the comments.